So normally when I make a video on a multiplayer beta of something, I make the video after the beta has ended, or at the very least, I will make the video right around the end of the beta. That way I have a good amount of time to test out everything, to see if they add any new content over the course of the beta to try out, that sort of thing. And yet, here I sit on the night of the first day that the beta has opened up to the general public, and I record this video. Why? Well, the first thing you need to understand is that I'm going to be busy the ensuing several days, so I'm not going to have a whole lot of time to mess around with this beta while it's open to the general public. You see, ordinarily, they will run these betas starting at about Thursday or Friday, and it will go through the weekend, so they have as many people as possible able to try out the game and give them feedback and generate hype. Obviously, they haven't done that here. Instead, they had the pre-order bonus being that you can get early access to this beta starting on Thursday, and then for those who did not pre-order the game, it opened up on Sunday. So people who were already going to buy the game anyway, people who are fully locked into every yearly Call of Duty release, got to play the open beta over the entire weekend, like they would expect to. And everybody else maybe gets Sunday, because most people are going to be busy the ensuing Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday that the open beta is still available to them. This, of course, tells you immediately that Activision doesn't give a single solitary crap what any of those people think. And honestly, why should they? They know that people are going to buy this game anyway. They know that they're going to have tons of people lining up to pre-order the $100 edition. I can't even remember what it's called anymore, and I honestly don't care, because the only relevant information on that particular edition are the price and how little you actually get for the extra $30 or so that you're paying. I mean, after all, this isn't like buying a gold edition of something where it costs you an extra, say, $30, but for that extra $30 you get substantial content that would be released as sort of expansions or DLCs later on down the line. With Call of Duty these days, you just pay an extra $30 for some Battle Pass tokens, some shitty cosmetics, and some Call of Duty points that you can then spend in their store to get even more shitty cosmetics. Much like always, it's an absolutely terrible deal, and nobody in their right mind should buy it, and yet people buy it in droves anyway. And for what? A game that's no better or is even outright worse than the one that preceded it? It's an absolutely sick joke, and the only people laughing are the ones making money off of it. But let's face it, it's not like Call of Duty really has much actual competition these days. I know a lot of people seem to think that Battlefield 6 is going to be the big game to dethrone Call of Duty, and it's not even going to come remotely close. The only thing that will ever kill Call of Duty is Call of Duty itself. And Black Ops 7 is not going to be the game to do it. Because at the end of the day, Black Ops 7 is basically just Black Ops 6, but with a more futuristic setting and the ability to bounce off of walls. In effect, people will be paying $70 or $100 or more for a game that is basically just a glorified expansion pack for Black Ops 6, but without any of the content from Black Ops 6 carrying over into the new one. Much like Modern Warfare 3 2023 was, it's a terrible value proposition, and absolutely nobody in their right mind should be paying full price for it. But you know what the funny thing is? Modern Warfare 3 2023 is actually a better value proposition than Black Ops 7 is. Because at least in that game, you could carry over all of your unlocks and everything from Modern Warfare 2 2022. You can't do that with Black Ops 7. The only thing that's going to carry forward into Black Ops 7, as far as I'm aware, is COD points, because those are shared across all the games, and that's the real money currency anyway, so you would expect that to transfer across all the games. But other than that, it's basically just going to be a blank slate of almost exclusively rehashed content from previous games, or slightly retooled content from previous games. I mean, to give you an idea of what they seem to think is some new earth-shattering development in Call of Duty gaming, they have something called overclocks that you can slot onto some of your gear to give it some additional functionality. And that's pretty much it. That's about all they got as far as anything so-called new to Black Ops 7 goes. I mean, the wall jumping mechanic, that was in previous games. It was technically slightly different in previous games, but there were a couple of previous Call of Duty games that did have wall running and jumping and such like that, so it's just a slightly retooled version of something that came before, and it's not really used all that well. I mean, yeah, there's certain spots on the maps where you can specifically use the wall jump, but it's all very predetermined, painfully obvious where this is all set up, and it really just ends up being more of a gimmick than anything else. It's not like, say, Titanfall 2, where they designed the entire game around that movement system. Here is just Treyarch saying, alright, we're going to take our standard garbage 3-lane map design and stick a few spots here and there to where you can just bounce off of a wall to somewhere else in the level. There's barely any verticality, there's really no dynamism to the maps whatsoever, they're all very static. The only other real changes they've made to the general flow of gameplay are that, for some odd reason, they decided to remove the tack sprint mechanic, which is where you can double tap the sprint button to get an extra boost of speed that goes away after a bit, but then you remain sprinting, which frankly was probably done because the maps in Black Ops 7 are smaller than those in the previous several games, so it would feel incredibly cramped if they still had the tack sprint mechanic. It already felt cramped in Black Ops 6, feels even more cramped here, even without the tack sprint. And the other big change they made is one that has been pretty much universally reviled, which is the replacement of most of the doors with automatic doors. Because apparently some people, I don't know who, because I really haven't seen anybody actually complaining about this, but apparently a fair amount of people were complaining about the doors in Black Ops 6 and the Modern Warfare games more recently. And so Treyarch decided the best way to remedy this problem is to change the doors from manual open and close and just sprint through them to open them doors to automatic doors that just open when you move close enough to them and close when you're far enough away from them. The irony here being that that doesn't really reduce the, I guess, annoyance factor of having doors open and close as you move near them, and more importantly, it makes it so much easier to camp, because most of these doors have some spot right in front of them that makes it very easy for someone to just post up and stare at the door until someone runs in there and just mow them down incredibly quickly. It's the kind of thing that just makes you sit there and question whether the developers did any playtesting at all. Because had they done so, they would have picked up on that almost immediately and said, you know what, that's actually a pretty terrible idea, let's try something else. I will be fair here, it's not like everything in this game is terrible. I mean, it's built on a decent enough foundation as far as the core gameplay mechanics are concerned. General movement, general gunplay, that's all well and good. It's basically like playing any of the Call of Duty games since Modern Warfare 2019 in that regard. And of course, there's still tons of customization you can apply to your loadouts, to the various weapons you have access to. And they brought back the specialization system from the previous game, where if you get at least 2 perks of the same color, effectively, in this, then it effectively gives you a bonus specialization perk that adds even more benefits on top of the other perks you've got. Although, of course, that does somewhat punish newer players because they haven't unlocked all the perks yet, so they may not necessarily be able to put together a combination that's actually good in that regard. And while I still very much get the I'm too old for this shit vibe from the Omni movement mechanics, they did actually make them slightly better in this compared to Black Ops 6. In Black Ops 6, they were floaty and weird, and you would just end up slipping and sliding all over the damn place. But the movement in Black Ops 7 does feel at least slightly more grounded. You do feel like you have a bit more control over it, so that does help at least somewhat. Of course, it certainly doesn't reduce or get rid of the absolutely obnoxious player tendency to just slip and slide all over the damn place and act like they're trying to be MLG with it, but I mean, that's a player problem at this point. You can't really do a whole lot about that except remove the movement mechanics entirely. And frankly, even if they did remove a lot of those mechanics, I guarantee you those people would still try to find a way to pull something like that off, and it would just be utterly ridiculous. There were, of course, a few technical problems in the beta, but nothing particularly severe, just some slight glitches here and there that will probably be ironed out by the time the game launches, or even if they're still present, will probably be ironed out within a couple of patches or so. Performance is solid, no complaints as far as anything related to frame rate, graphics options, anything like that. As long as you're running a decent computer, you should be able to run this thing without any problems. And they even implemented something that was fairly interesting by the time I got a chance to mess around with the beta, which was the open mode. So one of the biggest complaints people have had about the last several Call of Duty games is the skill-based matchmaking, where the game attempts to algorithmically sort you into matches based on your perceived skill, based on whatever statistics that they're tracking. And over the last several games, not only have the players gotten generally better at the games, but the skill-based matchmaking seems to have been tuned up insanely high to the point where pretty much every single match becomes incredibly, what a lot of people refer to as sweaty, where it feels like you just get thrown to the wolves at every conceivable opportunity. You just get thrown into these matches where people are slide canceling and bouncing all over the damn place and basically acting like they're trying out for MLG teams. And it completely destroys the casual feel that Call of Duty has historically excelled at. It's definitely been a problem for quite a while now, and it's only been getting worse over time. So the open mode seems to have been an attempt at addressing the concerns over SBMM, especially considering that when people hopped into the Black Ops 7 beta, they found out immediately that it was using skill-based matchmaking that included their stats from Black Ops 6. Yet more evidence that this is basically an expansion pack to Black Ops 6. But anyway, it was using stats from the previous game to sort people into matches in the beta of the new one, so they were immediately getting thrown into incredibly, quote, sweaty matches, and just having absolutely no fun whatsoever. By the time I got a chance to mess with the beta, they had introduced this open mode, where they say it minimally considers the skills of the players, and honestly, I really couldn't tell all that much of a difference. It could just be the small sample size of the beta when I was playing it, but it felt more or less the same as playing Black Ops 6. Maybe very slightly less chaotic and so-called sweaty, but I find that anymore it's basically just a crapshoot as to whether any given match of a Call of Duty game is going to be an enjoyable experience or just an absolutely miserable so-called sweatfest. So unfortunately, the most I can really say for that is your mileage may vary, although by the time this video goes live, the beta will be over. You won't have a chance to mess around with it yourself, unfortunately. And we really have no way of knowing whether they're going to retain this open matchmaking queue when the full version launches, or if it's just something they wanted to try out during the beta to see if they could get a few more people interested in the game, even though at this point pretty much anybody who is going to be interested in Black Ops 7 has probably already pre-ordered the game, and so they'll be playing it day one in droves, and pretty much everybody else who wasn't already persuaded by the fact that it's the next Call of Duty game is probably either never going to play the game in the first place, or is going to wait until they can get it on sale for really cheap, or if it has some sort of free weekend or something like that. Or maybe they'll mess around with it a bit on Game Pass if they happen to have a subscription, and with the recent price increases on Game Pass, that is a hell of a lot less people. So I don't think putting in this open matchmaking queue is really going to persuade people to come back to Call of Duty. And the myriad netcode and server issues that have been happening with increasing frequency over the past several years certainly aren't going to be inviting people back. I mean, it is very much not fun to round a corner, see an enemy, start opening fire on them, and keep getting hit markers only for them to turn around, shoot you once, and then you just drop instantly. And then when you look at the kill cam, it looks like they saw you and hit you about 4 or 5 times, but on your end, it seemed like it was all one big bullet. I mean, obviously, that sort of thing can happen in pretty much any online game. It's just the nature of network connections. But in most games, when you see something like that, your ping is pretty high and you don't have the best connection to the server, whereas in Call of Duty these days you can have a less than 20 millisecond ping to the server and it doesn't matter, you're still going to run into that kind of crap. Not to mention them still having problems with being able to hear enemies that are even right next to you, so you just get snuck up on constantly, even when enemies are sprinting full speed at you, which they should not be able to sneak up on you like that. but the footstep sounds are just so ridiculously quiet that even if you're wearing headphones and have your volume turned up, you'll never hear them coming. Just general problems with the engine, the netcode, and just the game design in general that have plagued this series for years now, and while none of these issues are really deal breakers in and of themselves, you end up with a sort of death by 1,000 cuts scenario where all of them add up to just continually frustrate the player until they finally stop playing. And these kinds of issues have just been left basically completely unaddressed for years now. It's like they just can't even conceive that they're a problem, or if they do know they're a problem, they don't seem to know how to fix it, or Activision or their management is telling them not to fix it. It's just hard to tell exactly what is going on there. It just leaves you wondering what the hell all of their development time and money and effort went into, and when you look at the entire product as a whole, it's basically impossible to figure out. I mean, sure, a sizable chunk of that probably went into the single-player campaign, and that's all well and good, but obviously with a beta like this, that's not something that I can assess, so I have to look at what I'm being given here, and what I'm being given is frankly just downright pathetic. It's not the worst game I've ever played or anything like that, but it just screams that it's basically a glorified expansion pack for the previous game that they're selling for full price again, because this is now the second time they've done this, only it's worse this time because your content from Black Ops 6 doesn't carry forward into Black Ops 7, like the content from Modern Warfare 2022 carried forward into Modern Warfare 2023. And I just find myself depressed by this whole thing. I mean, I have followed this series since its inception. I started playing this series with the original Call of Duty back in 2003, and I have been right along with it as it rose to prominence all the way through Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, and it stumbled a bit with World at War, and then it picked back up with Modern Warfare 2, and then it stumbled a bit again with Black Ops 2 and Modern Warfare 3, and then it started stumbling a lot more with stuff like Ghosts and Advanced Warfare and such. But then you finally get to Modern Warfare 2019, and things look like they're back on an upward swing. They actually took the time to overhaul the engine and really reassess what they wanted to do, and now we're right back into the slop pile again. It's just sad and pathetic, and I really don't think anybody should buy this game. I mean, hell, I'm a reviewer, and I'm still not going to be picking this thing up until it goes on sale for a pretty significant discount, and even then, it's just because I feel like I'm obligated to make a video on the full version, not because I actually want to. So, take that for what it's worth, I suppose. Thank you all very much for watching. If you like my videos, please consider supporting the channel on Patreon. If you can't afford to or don't want to, that's fine, I understand. But the option's there if you're interested, and every bit really helps out. You'd be amazed how even $1 a month can help out. Thank you all again for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.